showing for you guys, right? So the reason I'm writing is preparation for the great test, because I don't want to scare whatever people might see it on YouTube and see preparation for dying, because most people there say, I don't want to see that. But if it's shown as the great test, ooh, okay, what's the great test? And then we could tell them that actually dying is the great test. So, okay, yes, it's an uncomfortable part of life, but yes, life is about dying, especially in the material world. Birth means death. So, but we have to acknowledge this part of life because everyone does it, and it's quite literally like the most important thing we do, actually. And if we die properly or nicely, then we get a really good situation, and if we die not so nicely, then we get a really bad situation, Or if we die in the middle somewhere, we get a middling situation. So, very important how to die. So we're going to learn a little bit today, and what's recommended of Maharaj Parikshit. First, that he should, at the last stage of one's life, we should remember that the main thing that he was meant to do was to hear about, to chant the glories of, and remember the Lord. That's the most important thing. That's what he was suggested to do. And then he said in the last verse, at the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. So you should not be afraid of this test. You should not, we're so fearful of death, Did you ever go up on a really high thing, and then you get close to the edge, and then all of a sudden all your fears start coming out, like, oh my God, I could fall. What are we really afraid of? We're afraid of dying. We don't want to die. But actually, at the last stage, you should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. But one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and all desires thereof. So at that point, at death, your relationship to your wife, put it to the side. Your relationship to your children, put it to the side. Your career should already have been put to the side, but I really hope at that point you are ready to put it aside. All your wealth, all the things that you've gained in with your body, your homes, your properties, your estate, all those things, if you're intelligent, you should have already given charge to someone else to handle. Not that you should, I'm going to die, let me throw them all in the garbage, or just throw them in the street for any person to take. You can properly give some portion to your relatives, some portion to the Vaishnavas and Brahmins, for them to use in godly purposes. And like that. And then but you have to give up all these things. So you must cut off all attachment to them. But the hard ones are your material relations, your wife, your children, your, even your worldly friends. And at that point, you can have association with those devotees who are prepared to help you in that journey. But otherwise, cut off all material attachment and everything pertaining to it. All to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and all desires thereof. There's nothing material that is important at all at death. It's nothing, not one material thing, including your body, your health of your body, all, your relationships with your body, the man's relationship is with the wife, the woman's relationship is with the husband, and then also your children and your friends and relatives, which are just of the body. You're not actually friends with their soul, you're just mainly with the body. We don't even know who our soul is, so especially we don't know who each other's souls are. So like that. So anyhow, we should cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and all desires thereof. And then we will start with today's verse on what should be done next. But before we do that, we can do a Mangala Charana. Maybe Titi, you can, what are these? No. Somewhere, yeah, right there. I'll share these things so that they can all read.
Yes. ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सावैतं सावन्तं परिणतं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां श्रीविशाखान्वितं हे कृष्ण करुणासिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पशचादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
First and foremost, before I speak anything, I want to offer my obeisances onto the Guru, Sri Guru in my life, both Diksha and Shiksha. The Lord has sent His personal representatives to come and help me in this life, and I'm very much grateful to Sri Guru, the spiritual master who is always helping me. I want to offer my obeisances unto our entire Gaudiya Guru Varga, the lineage of spiritual masters over the ages, the pure saints, who their one job is to preserve this transcendental knowledge of the Lord and to hand it down to others. And without their selfless sacrifice and great work, we would not have any connection to it here in this day and age. And finally, I want to offer my obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, which actually means all living entities eventually, but especially the Vaishnavas here, present now with us, or might be maybe listening online. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So now, Srimad Bhagavatam, how to die. Nope, that's Bhagavad Gita. So let's read. Grihat pravrajito diraha punyatirtha jalapluta shucho vivikta asino vidhivat kalpitasane. Grihat, from one's home. You could see it. You could see it. Okay. Pravrajita, having gone out. Dhira, self-controlled. Punya, pious. Tirtha, sacred place. Jala apluta, fully washed. Shucho, cleansed. Vivikte, solitary. Asina, seated. Vidhivat, according to regulations. Kalpita, having done. Asane, on a sitting place. Translation. One should leave home and practice self-control In a sacred place, he should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place, duly sanctified. You can even do this, some of these practices now, especially when we sit down for our main period of japa in the day. We could have a nice sacred place. You could do Achaman mantras, could very clean, and like that, and you can prepare yourself to go into the spiritual realm. Sometimes it's hard. The mind is all over the place, and there's so many material concerns. But at death, you give up all attachment to these things, and you go internal, and what's going to happen is it's not going to be out here in this material world. You have to prepare. It's an internal process. Actually, life is an internal process, always. But because of our ignorance, we are so much infatuated with the outside material world. But actually, life is an internal experience. The soul is internal, actually. Even the spiritual energy is called the Antaranga Shakti, which means like the internal Shakti. So this is actually Krishna's realm. This external things are all temporary, actually, but the internal things, this is what, and you being the soul, you are the internal thing. You're eternal, and Krishna is eternal, and he's also eternal and internal. So we should be prepared to have the internal experience. So you should bathe, sit down in a sanctified place, leave your home, because in the home, I noticed this, I had so many things are going on in the home that draw your attention away. You should leave the home and you should practice self-control. So Prabhupada, he says, purport, to prepare oneself for the better next life, one must get out of one's so-called home. The system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatana Dharma prescribes retirement from family encumbrances as early as possible after one has passed 50 years of age. So once you've reached the age of 50, you should work to get out of your home as early as possible. It may not be so possible, in nowadays retirement age they keep moving it up, 67 now, and maybe it used to be like 62 and then 65, and they'll keep pushing. And then 75 will be the standard, but it's too late. Anyhow, but after you've passed 50 years of age, as early as possible, you should leave the home environment. Modern civilization is based on family comforts, the highest standard of amenities, and therefore after retirement, everyone expects to live a very comfortable life in a well-furnished home, decorated with fine ladies and children, without any desire to get out of such a comfortable home. High government officers and ministers stick to their prized posts until death. Just see, the presidents all are like 80 years old, This is like, but these are not, my gosh, it's very foolish. And they neither dream nor desire to get out of homely comforts. Bound by such hallucinations, materialistic men prepare various plans for a still more comfortable life. But suddenly cruel death comes without mercy and takes away the great plan maker against his desire, forcing him to give up the present body for another body. So this is what people do. They just keep clinging and keep clinging and keep clinging. But death does not care. He will come anyway. And you can make many, many big plans. But if you're not really preparing for death, especially after 50 years of age, the Vedas are prescribing you're a fool. And that, because you don't actually understand what this life is about and what's actually happening. And when the body starts going gray, and when everything is, starting to decrease, the body's vitality decreases with old age, what do you think is happening? But still, they make so many big plans. And now, not just them, now my children's plans. And no. Like, you should worry about your plan. What is happening right now? So we should, as soon as possible, we should leave the home life. Not to say you have to, I'll never speak to my wife, my children again, or all these things. No, you can speak to them. You can associate with them. But don't get so wrapped up in it. Don't get so wrapped up in all of these things. So anyhow, this is... let's see if I can actually apply it. I'm 33. 17 years, I'll be 50. let's see if how quickly I can detach from my home life after 50, and then then maybe I can preach to you on this thing. But right now I'm in home life, so I'll not be the best example. But we can see examples of our acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and even Srila Prabhupada, how Srila Prabhupada left his home life at 59. 59 he left. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I don't know the exact age, but he also left his home life. And he still maintained, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he still maintained a relationship with his great son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But not as father and son, because this is a material relationship, but as great Vaishnavas, and they understood each other to be as such, to be eternal beings and having each other having eternal positions like this. So that can be explained more in detail, but I won't, just for the sake of, unless there's like a deep question on the subject matter. But yeah, not necessary probably right now to go into. So anyhow, the great plan makers are, what did I say? But suddenly cruel death comes without mercy and takes away the great plan maker against his desire, forcing him to give up the present body for another body. Such a plan maker is thus forced to accept another body in one of the 8,400,000 species of life, according to the fruits of the work he has performed. So it depends on what you've done in your life, and you'll get a perfect body just for you, due to the karma, and there's 8,400,000 different types of species. And due to our work previously, this was the species we were to get it, and this is the body we were to get. But the next body will be, what am I doing in this life? Like let's say we like to, let's say we have a really nice tendency to eat a lot, So maybe the body is like, oh, the karma is to do lots of eating. Then here, you can be a bear, or you can be some species that gets to eat a lot, a pig or something like this. Say we like the taste of flesh in this life, lots of, blood and this, like that. There are people who have such a taste for these things. They claim to be carnivorous. No problem. There's plenty of carnivorous species for you in the next life, and so on. So it depends on what is really the highest emphasis, but the sum total of all of our fruits of our actions in this life will dictate what is our next body. And there's a perfect species out of the 8,400,000. There's a perfect species for you that is based off of the sum total of the fruits that you've done in your previous existence. So that's how we got here, and that's how we'll get in the future. So we should know. In the next life, persons who are too much attached to family comforts are generally awarded lower species of life on account of sinful acts performed during a long duration of sinful life, and thus all the energy of the human life is spoiled. That's why what happens when we become too attached to family comforts, we will usually neglect dharma. We'll neglect proper activities and proper duties. And part of dharma is to follow the varnashram dharma, is to actually detach from family life. It's actually part of dharma. But if you fight the dharma and you neglect this dharma and you try to secure your family comforts, what happens is you engage in sinful activities, a-dharma. And these cause distress to others. I'm actually seeing practically, I hope no one's watching, but I'm watching, I've seen in my own relatives' case, I'm seeing also with other relatives on both mine and my wife's side, where those in the family life still in old age, it's a really miserly condition for them. And they're still trying to enjoy and all these things, and it's just becoming more and more degraded. And what happens is that everyone in your family loses respect for you, actually. That's what makes it so degraded. Everybody in your family loses respect for you, and just more, and even though you spent years building the family, they will just appreciate you less and less and less and less. And eventually you'll be like, they'll consider you. I even see, I won't say it, but I've seen one elder relative who's married to another elder relative, and this elder relative is going through a hard time. The body is really failing this relative. And the other relative, the body is less failing on that one. And this relative considers the bodily failing relative to be like a baby. and like speaks of them as like they're like their baby and things like that. And it's a very degrading situation because it's actually, you know, that should not be the relationship dynamic. But due to this relative clinging on to family comforts and family life, and they don't really know a better way. This is just the degraded situation that's there for them. So I see this and I think, oh my God, I cannot do like this. I cannot do like this. And maybe you've experienced it before. You've seen it in your own relatives, or you've seen it. Maybe our parents are starting to now all get old, and we can see. I know my duty to my parents. I was just spent time with my mother and father for some days, just a few days. And, you know, my family, you know, they have so many considerations and things like that. But my dad is quite spiritual, actually. He's quite spiritual. But, you know, because he doesn't have all of the benefits of Krishna consciousness, Guru, all these things, it's really difficult for him to always maintain such a high standard. So, you know, one of the things that happened in our family, my family and my wife's family, we really prioritized sports growing up. Sports is life. I don't know why, but you know, it's the government's way to entertain the, you know, you could say the worker class of people. So they, what do they say in Rome? Give them bread and circus. You know, they used to say that pretty much the governments would, they give the lower class of society entertainment so that they work hard and run their systems and they're satisfied and they don't ask questions and they don't rebel. So anyway, this is the priority in our life. People love sports. They love the entertainment circuses. Half of them are fixed anyway, meaning it's like a, you know, it's like a drama, and they know which team is going to be. They've gotten proven to you know, fix these things. Why? You know, because, and also you can bet on them if you know who's going to win. It makes you a lot of money and so many things. But anyway, the New York team of basketball, probably you heard the Knicks, right? The Knicks just won the championship after so many years. So naturally everyone in my household was very pumped up about this thing. But my dad, you know, he is spiritual, so you know, he was very much pumped up though. He was like right along with the gang, really pumped up. And so I was just kind of showing him some verses from his religion, from Jesus, about like, no, these are not the things that we should, you know, pay attention to, you know. Because Jesus was teaching all these things. He was teaching High Dharma, he was teaching Bhagavad Dharma, all these things. So I was showing him some of these things, and I could tell it really, like, even though he still went and watched the Knicks game and was really enthusiastic, but before the game, because I didn't have time, I had to go to bed, and there's no way I had time to stay up and watch that. And I had the baby and my wife, and you know, it's not like their most comfortable environment either, so it's just better, you know, we went up to bed. But before, I made sure I shared a few verses from the Bible with him. But actually, I could tell it really stuck with him, and it gave him like a bad taste about like, you know, doing what he was doing. But I noticed his whole next day, he was really enthusiastic about having a spiritual practice. You know, he has some, you know, his is mainly on the TV. He watches, you know, like Christian stations and things. But it's better than, you know, watching nonsense, which most of my relatives do all throughout the day. And yeah, and it was nice. And even though I didn't get to really spend much time with him on that day, Krishna arranged, because we ended up going to the temple. We met Parth and the gang at the temple and things like that. But Krishna arranged that my dad went to church in the morning after all morning watching his praise stations on the TV. And then he wanted to hang out with me in the evening, but we had made plans with at the temple. So then he ended up just going to Bible study at night. But he felt like really nourished by that. And actually that's what we should encourage our relatives to do. You know, maybe they're not able to detach completely. It's realistic, you know. You look at your relatives, it's almost certain, especially in the West, they're not going to be able to practice Varnashram Dharma. Maybe your relatives have a better chance because it's more culturally, it's there, it's ingrained somewhere. But my relatives, I don't think so, for most of them. But we can at least encourage them to, you know, detach more from these worldly things and to go deeper into their spiritual life. And then when it comes down to us, it's our time, we should definitely practice this. We should not get caught up in these things. It doesn't matter what the kids are doing. It doesn't matter if your wife isn't spiritually elevated, or or your husband isn't spiritually elevated. It's not mattering so much what they're, For a woman, it may have different dynamic, because for a woman, her dharma is always to serve the husband, even in horrible situations. There's so many examples of this. So the woman has also, though, but Krishna is seen to take great mercy on women who practice Sri Dharma like this, and give them special mercy. One example is the gopis. The gopis, they always very diligently perform their duties, and Krishna always made himself available, even though it was in secret, but he made himself available to these devotees. And actually all of the top devotees of Krishna, they have the mood of the woman. The woman has the highest spiritual mood, actually. It doesn't mean the women in this world are automatically more spiritual than the men, because there's so many factors why we get. Sometimes it's even opposite of that. But the actual, the pure woman actually has the highest spiritual mood, as revealed. Even Jesus has said, that we should be like bridegrooms waiting unto the Lord to be called, because this was the culture, bridegrooms, when a husband was picking a wife for marriage, especially an esteemed husband, all the bridegrooms, they would be prepared, to properly serve that husband. So Jesus said that we should be like that, waiting to be the Lord, doing everything that we can to hope that we're chosen by the Lord. So anyhow, where did we stop? Why did we get into all this? Do we remember? Detaching from family life. Yeah, the 8,400,000 species. Due to the fruits of the work we performed, why do we get this? So, okay. And so, those who stay in family life, they accrue sins, and they do more and more distressful things to others. I'm seeing they become very dependent on others. Now you have to always wheel grandpa around, or now you always have to, do it. And the relatives have no problem doing it. But the relative who's taking all the service, they should feel some, a little bit of shame in that why I'm becoming a burden unto others. I should not. So the person with a high integrity and honor, they leave that situation. They don't want, yes.
Prabhu, it's also recommended in Shastras that we need to have elders in the house to maintain the spirituality and culture.
Yes.
But if the elders go to Vanprastha ashram or Varnashram, then how can we have elders in the house but also not have elders in the house? So.
Well, it's very valuable for you to have elders in the house as a dharmic person, but it's not very valuable for them. It's very valuable for you. But actually what's usually recommended is the man, he takes this, and the elder, if any elder stays, it's the mother. That's usually the recommendation. What our acharyas have always recommended, that couples, at the very least, if the man doesn't incline towards the sannyas, or if the wife is not inclined to stay back with the children, because it's very, if my wife decides, say we spiritually elevate in life, and my wife decides that her relationship with the children is much stronger than, her relationship with me, practicing spiritual life with me, which would be fine. She might choose to stay back. The other thing, she might also find that she also is detaching from family life, and I'm also feeling the same way. Then what our acharyas have recommended, instead of vanaprastha, going to the forest, which is actually illegal in most places in the world, to do what's called dhamkshetra, to become not dhamkshetra, kshetra sannyas, to go to a holy place and to renounce going anywhere else but the holy place. So I'm going to reside in a holy place, and that will be my new home. And it's very difficult. There's a lot of austerities to live in holy places like Vrindavan and Mayapur and like this. But if you live and stay only there and do your service there, Then even when your children do want to visit you, they visit you in the Dham. And they get the benefit of coming to the Dham and like that. And then you could always stay practicing. So to kind of answer your question, it's valuable for you to have elders in the house, but also for their well-being, it's not so valuable for them, especially a man. Especially a man, it's not valuable for him. What's valuable is he leaves home and detaches from the family and focuses wholly and solely on spiritual life. The wife often takes the benefit of the husband. That benefit is often granted to her for her service to him. And so, but his job is to really achieve spiritually. It's the man's job. And it practically cannot be done in the confines and the encumbrances of family life. I'm even seeing now, there's just so many things that are just really pulling me this way, that way, this way, this way. And it's, as much as I want to be a spiritual achiever, I'm just okay, do what I can in this position. And, when we're seeing something is being done here, but yeah, it's really, really difficult. So the man has to, it is his duty to leave. If you do have a spiritual elder in the home, you're fortunate, but you'll see a really qualified man, it's not his position to stay. And a really qualified man will leave, which is why Prabhupada is recommending. Because many of these things were written for the spiritually progressive man. Even many of these books we're reading, it's for everybody, but especially that's the emphasis. So yes, does that answer?
Yes, Prabhu, partially.
Follow-up question.
Like, what if, we also need to serve our parents
Yes.
as per Shastras?
As per Dharma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Per
Yes.
So why, if they move out, then how are we supposed to serve? We won't be able to serve them on a daily basis. Right?
Yes.
We might visit them once or twice. But
yeah. Well, you can also. There's a couple of ways. One, if your parents, for instance, if you encourage your parents to, let's say, take Kshetra Sannyas, and if they're honorable, they will already have given most of the business or the wealth down to the children and maybe to others. So one thing you could do to serve your parents is to here, I will sponsor an apartment for you in the Dham or something like this. And this is real service to the parents. To be there giving them food and having them get involved in all the children's frivolous activities and things like that, that's not really service to the parents. To really serve the parents is to help encourage their spiritual life. So, like when I was just visiting my parents, I could have, on one level, served the desires of my parents, just sitting and watching movies and watching the Knicks game with them and, fully embracing their culture. But I could not do that. But what my service to my father was to actually take something he has a high value of the values of Jesus and spiritual life, and to show him those values and encourage him. And I saw that he spent the whole next day engaged in that way, and he was took his spiritual life more seriously than maybe he would have otherwise. So that's real service to our parents. So we should understand. There's basic worldly dharma, which is, to give pleasure, pleasing to do good karmas to others. But Bhagavat dharma is always to share with others the holy name and all things connected to the holy name. The Lord, his pastimes, his teachings, everything like this. So, if the parents leave, it's good for them, and we should know. And we should actually, and if they're not inclined to leave, maybe due to some spiritual deficit they had, then we should tastefully, nicely, properly, but maybe encourage them that they can have an upgraded spiritual life. Maybe, at least engage them in spiritual community nearby, or maybe, like I said, you could sponsor an apartment for your parents in Vrindavan or something like this. Yes.
now I also want to live in a holy place. So,
Yeah.
but if I plan to like shift my whole family to Vrindavan, then like do I still need to make them live separately or?
You may not have to because everything's perfect there. So yeah, I mean, it's a case by case scenario, but still, maybe if the whole family is in Vrindavan, everyone is pretty transcendental, and especially, so even if the grandparents stay in the house, everyone will be doing transcendental activities. So there may not be a need, but still, maybe you can have your apartment here and at least have them like a separate apartment or something, just so they're not so wrapped up in all the things. Because you know, with age should come wisdom, and even if you have some more wisdom than say your children, the children aren't going to, so if all the children are, all of their engagements are, all the parents are so entangled in all these things, the grandparents are entangled in all these things, it's not really helping them, it's not really helping them, really spiritually grow and focus, so still separate is probably better. But yeah, that would be a best case scenario. You and all your relatives living in the Dham, even if they stay with you, there's no loss because everyone's in the Dham. So there's no real loss there. So, in that circumstance, you have defeated this argument. In that circumstance, that's you might have a loophole there, but but the austerities of going to the Dham, have already, they've all defeated. This is all actually just Varnashram Dharma. There's higher Dharmas than Varnashram Dharma in this Bhagavad Dharma, the Jaiva Dharma. But for anyone who has any material desire at all, Varnashram Dharma is necessary. So this is very important for anyone who has material desire for enjoyment. But anyone who's spiritually elevated and wants to give pleasure to Krishna, then Varnashram Dharma can be neglected in certain circumstances. So, in the Dham, there's license where you could neglect that Dharma. But how that would play out, it's case by case and should be guided properly by Guru and Vaishnavas. And Krishna Krishna could give you a loophole there. I will not say no. But in worldly life, otherwise, outside of the Dham, I don't see any way where that's really service to them. You're not really helping them. If they have just due to lack of spiritual qualification, if they have no desire at all to leave, then you should at least encourage them in spiritual life, really. And so that would be the best case scenario for them. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense?
Yes.
It's not really service to sit them and feed them and increase their family comforts. It's not really service to them. It's actually further binding them and creating attachments to the material world.
But what if like they're old, let's say
Yes.
they are like 80 years of age and now
Yes.
they're not able to do their daily task, which becomes a hindrance in their spiritual life because they
Yes.
have to cook for themselves, but they don't have the energy to do so.
Yes.
And because of that, it's becoming a hindrance in their spiritual life because now they're hungry and tired and they're not able to
Yeah.
do proper, let's say, job or...
Yeah, so, you can always make sure that they're fed or something like this, arrange, yeah, it's nice to arrange all of that for them.
But how would we know if we are living?
Yeah. So it's kind of, difficult, For your duty is to always to try to serve them and make sure they have everything they need. For their duty, though, they will try not to fall into such a situation if they're really spiritually elevated. So, but for your duty, yeah, that's good, But not to, even my wife's relatives, for instance, this culture is not there. But we are actually all encouraging them. They live separate, but no, please go back home. Please go back to your relatives to care for you because it's getting to be dangerous for them. And they have, they're enwrapped in family life. Better they just go be with the family and let the family help them. And yeah, it'll be some burden to the family, definitely. already seeing. It's burdensome to the family to care, especially when they get so old. You have to clean their stool and all these things is very, and it's really difficult. But an honorable Vedic personality, they will never want to be put in such a situation, But for those, very few people meet that criteria. So for me, I don't ever want to be in such a situation. I don't ever want to find myself where my son has to see me naked and, clean my stool and, I can't even eat without, the mercy of him and his wife or something like that. I don't want to be in such a situation. I'd rather actually just go off and, let the Lord, handle me, if I can't cook anymore for myself, if I can't even make a basic preparation for myself, it might be better that I just leave the world, So, but anyhow, but yeah, it depends on the qualification of the parents. For you, for us as honorable children, we always want to serve the parents, whatever their needs are. But for them, and for us, when we have children, we never ever want to have our children depend on us. We want to always give to our children. I never wanted a situation, oh, Abhiram, please help me. No, I want to help Abhiram. It's my duty to serve him. I don't want to be, And if he is a good child, he probably will want to return, that favor in his older age. Because that's what a gratitude. But it's not, it's not so honorable for us to accept that service. Even though we can be grateful and we can accept it, but to completely depend on it is not honorable. So, like this. So there's license for you to want to serve your parents. It's good. It's wholesome. It's proper. But for us, we should never want to make our children dependent. We should never want to be dependent on our children. And we should be ready to leave family life so as to not become burdensome, because that's what happens in old age. You become burdens on those you become dependent on. So we shouldn't, and this is actually sinful. Because remember, what is sinful is that which causes distress to others. So when, an elder person sticks around too long, they become burdensome to others. And it's sinful, actually. So better than an elder person, with dignity. Like even my grandfather on my mother's side, he lost my grandmother and things, but he always remained alone and he always remained capable. And he had a lot of pride and a lot of, self-dignity. And so I remember I was with him when he was in college, but he always remained alone. He would come up for all these things, want to support. But he always wanted, when he came up, he wanted to do manual labor and help and things. But when his body started failing and he couldn't do all these things anymore, he just gave up his will to live, and he just, he left very quickly. And even though in the hospital, he was very dependent, many things happened, but he did not want us to see him like that. And actually, it was really interesting when me and my brother were trying to visit him one last time before he was leaving, and but somehow or other Krishna arranged that we made a wrong turn, and then we got there actually like 20 minutes after he died, and it was a little sad for us because we wanted to be there for him when he was dying. But I think Krishna arranged it perfectly. It was just him and his daughters. My mother was one of them. And it wasn't, I think Krishna arranged it that way because he hated us seeing him like that. He hated us seeing him dependent because he always wanted to be the one providing, and to be, it's a very, it's a humiliating actually experience to, it's a humiliating experience to, not even be able to put your clothes on, to be passing stool and having no control over that, and your relatives. It's humiliating. It's horrible, actually. So, person with high dignity, they don't want to be in that situation, really. So, Um, yeah, you know, when my father and mother inevitably get like that, I may encourage my dad. It depends. My mom will be, maybe we'll take charge of my mom. I don't know. But and then she will not want to leave. But my dad, I will encourage. Why don't you go live in a monastery or something? Really focus, on this thing. And if he becomes dependent too, we'll take care of him. But he'll hate it. Anyone will hate it. So he may not be eligible to practice such a high standard that Prabhupada is saying. This is really high. This is a really it's a really high standard. It's not for ordinary folks. It's not for most people. But yeah, for us, we should never want to become a burden on others. We should never, ever want to become a burden on others. Like even here, you guys here, I ask you guys to do seva. But I'll never ask you to do personal seva for me. Because if you do personal seva for me, then that's sinful on my end. If I ask you, oh, will you come clean my dishes? And maybe you guys are so nice, you might even do it. But it would be so degrading for me to, ask you guys. Like if I ask you guys to do seva, it's for the benefit of the whole community. And that's, to me, I can justify that. But I don't want you to do, I don't want you to do my personal dishes or wash my... And that would be horrible. It would be completely horrible, actually. So this is, we should never want to be in a situation like that. So the relatives also, when they have high dignity, they will not want to put their children on their children. Even though the children may want to out of affection, like you want to out of affection. It's nice. But, it may not be, we look at the example of Dhritarashtra. Yudhishthira was so happy to serve Dhritarashtra. And maybe Bhima, he would poke fun at Dhritarashtra. But everyone else was so happy to serve Dhritarashtra. He was their elder uncle and all these things. But Vidura, he came to Dhritarashtra, and he didn't criticize the Pandavas for how they were treating Dhritarashtra, but he criticized Dhritarashtra. How are you doing this? Leave this place. This is a horrible, miserable situation to become dependent. You're dependent on the personality who killed all of your sons. And just see how degraded, the situation was for Dhritarashtra. So Vidura came there to show Dhritarashtra, give this all up. And Dhritarashtra was blind. And Dhritarashtra had the good sense to leave. This is actually the proper way. So Vidura came and showed him this is the proper way. But the Pandavas weren't to be criticized. They were taking care of their elders. They're taking care of Dhritarashtra, even though he plotted to kill against them and so many things. But they still went, I'll take care of my relatives. It's dutiful, it's proper. But for that relative, for Dhritarashtra, it's shameful, it's sinful actually. So Vidura came to correct him. So similarly, for you to take care of your parents is great. But if someone's your parents' well-wisher, you should tell them, don't do that. Get out of the situation. Go to the Dham. Do something, don't be so entangled in this family life. Go prepare, you're about to die. So like this. So we should always understand that. We should understand the semantics. And we should understand their eligibility. It's realistic. When my parents, they're not going to follow this. I will almost certainly have to take charge. My brothers they're not going to follow these things. I'll have to be the one, almost certainly. We'll see. Because what will happen is my brothers will get very as soon as one of my parents passes a stool somewhere that they shouldn't, my brothers will be ready to throw them in the nursing home. I can almost certainly guarantee like this. But me and my wife, we should do it. We should arrange something, or maybe we can hire some people to take care of the things that are really, troublesome or something like that. But we can maybe provide a facility for them, like a home next to us or something, and we can care for them. But yeah, it's not a good situation to be elderly and have others dependent on you. It's humiliating, actually. It's humiliating. It's a really disturbing situation. So,
how about wife depending on husband?
What do you mean?
Wife depending on husband.
No, that's good. Because they depend on each other. You depend on each other. A proper wife and husband dynamic is the strengths of the man. The man has really increased problem-solving capabilities, usually physically stronger, clear in direction, in thought, many times, and that the man can help guide the woman and protect the woman very nicely in life. But similarly, the man has so many duties he has to perform, and women have a better way of balancing many duties at once. The women have such a better way of handling children and with more affection and love and tolerance and patience. And there's so many things, that women do, even taking care of practical duties that would otherwise be a burden to the man, that the woman can execute very efficiently and effectively. So they need each other. So it's not like when a husband and wife come together, it's like a mercy case where the husband is taking giving mercy to the woman, and the woman is useless. No, the woman is very valuable to the husband, or else it's not a good relationship. So it's not like that. It's okay to have to render service to each other and work as a team. Everyone does that. Even here at the ashram, we all render service. We're working effectively as a team to care so that the whole project flourishes. It's not that for me to flourish, or Parth to flourish, or you guys to flourish individually. It's for the whole good to please Krishna. Like, that's a proper ashram, actually. So similarly, in husband and wife dynamic, it's like that. It's the woman is to serve in the many specified ways that are helpful to the husband, and the husband, if he has the room to think and to act and with clarity, and solve problems and directions and overcome, he can help get the woman so much farther than she can go on her own strength. So they work perfectly together, actually. So, but it's not humiliating, it's not degrading, it's perfection, actually. It's the highest dharma for a woman is actually to take a husband. As for ordinary dharma. It's the highest dharma. And to serve her husband is said to be the highest thing. So, no, opposite. It's not a degrading situation at all. But if you were then to take, become dependent, it's also actually proper even for a woman to, even in elder age, to be, it's proper for the son to protect the mother. It's always proper, actually, to always protect the mother. Especially, and actually, if let's say the woman becomes burdensome on the husband, because it could happen, a woman could, lose her faculties or something, and it would be more honorable for her to go with the son, and the son to take care of it. It would be more honorable for the son and to let his father focus on his spiritual life. Especially if the father, they say sannyas, take sannyas, they give up all attachment to the whole family. But it's very honorable for the son to then take charge of the mother and like that. And it's not a bad situation from the mother's standpoint, because the elder mother, even in the home, can always render service, actually. It's not as emphasized but for the man, it's a very degraded situation. A man should never stay in the home through elder life. The woman there is license, actually. So that's a good point. Anyway. These things are, there's so many subtleties in these things. And this is only my imperfect understanding. But from reading these books, you might get a similar. I'm trying to only share things I've learned from reading these books. But you can see lots of examples of these in Shastra, though. So, like that. Yes? Keep reading? Okay. Sorry, long detour. So they acts performed during a long duration of sinful life, and thus all the energy of the human life is spoiled. So if you stay in the home too long, you'll actually spoil your human life. So in order to be saved from the danger of spoiling the human form of life and being attached to unreal things, one must take warning of death at the age of 50, if not earlier. The principle is that one should take it for granted that the death warning is already there, even prior to the attainment of 50 years of age, and thus at any stage of life one should prepare himself for a better next life. The system of the Sanatana Dharma institution is so made that the follower is trained for the better next life without any chance that the human life will be spoiled. The holy places all over the world are meant for the residential purposes of retired persons getting ready for a better next life, which we just talked about. The system of the Sanatana Dharma institution is... Intelligent persons must go there at the end of life, and for that matter, after 50 years of age, to live a life of spiritual regeneration for the sake of being freed from family attachment, which is considered to be the shackle of material life. One is recommended to quit home just to get rid of material attachment, because one who sticks to family life until death cannot get rid of material attachment, and as long as one is materially attached, one cannot understand spiritual freedom. So if you don't quit home, you'll never can get materially detached. It's there's always a new generation, and the next thing you know, you're absorbed in the grandbabies and what they're doing, and then somehow you make it past the grandbabies doing, then they'll have babies, and then you'll get sucked in there. You'll always remain materially attached. So actually, it's recommended. Prabhupada is saying, go to the Dham. This is what the Dham should be filled with those retired in age. And who want to be liberated, detached from family life. So one should not, however, become self-complacent simply by leaving home or by creating another home at the holy place, either lawfully or unlawfully. Many persons leave home and go to such holy places, but due to bad association again become family men by illicit connection with the opposite sex. So, this is also a kind of warning your plan as well. We're not just trying to leave home and I'll make another nice home in Vrindavan and I'll have another nice facility there. No, you're living in Vrindavan to perform seva, actually, to engage in bhajan. So something simple, very simple, bare minimum, bare needs. So if you're a renunciate and you renounce your family, you give up your family, and then you go to Vrindavan and you get a girlfriend, then that's very abominable. So Prabhupada's talking like this. The illusory energy of matter is so strong that one is apt to be under such illusion at every stage of life, even after quitting one's happy home. Therefore, it is essential that one practice self-control by celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. For a man desiring to improve the condition of his existence, sex indulgence is considered suicidal or even worse. Therefore, to live apart from family life means to become self-controlled in regard to all sense desires, especially sex desires. So this is, this is not the norm. This is not what most men want to hear. This is not what even many ladies want to hear. But actually, you can see practically in your experience, especially if you become married or something and you have license for some sexual engagement, you'll see it really takes a toll on the quality of one's life. You're not able to really perform so much spiritual activity on a high level, just due to these, because it's the strongest material attachment. So, best sex be done with one person, and best it be done for the sake of having a spiritual child. Otherwise, sex will ruin your life, actually. So it's taken down the strongest of men, So it's essential that one practice self-control by celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. For a man desiring to improve the condition of his existence, sex indulgence is considered suicidal or even worse. Therefore, to live apart from family life means to become self-controlled in regard to all sense desires, especially sex desires. The method is that one should have a duly sanctified sitting place made of straw, deerskin, and carpet, and thus sitting on it, one should chant the holy name of the Lord without offense, as prescribed above. The whole process is to drag the mind from material engagements and fix it on the lotus feet of the Lord. This simple process alone will help one advance to the highest stage of spiritual success. So just back to the verse. One should leave home and practice self-control, namely celibacy. In a sacred place, you should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place, duly sanctified. So if you do go to Vrindavan, Vrindavan is not for sex life. Vrindavan is for bhajan. So we should always understand these things. That it's not just leaving one's home. That's one part, but then you have to practice self-control. You have to be free from sense gratification, sex life being the chief. And you regularly bathe, sit down in a lonely place, duly sanctified, and Prabhupada says, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Be engaged in this process of trying to fix your consciousness on Krishna. Or, hearing about the Lord. Having, when I go to Vrindavan, I want to do as much hearing about Krishna as possible from the most qualified sources that are available. And in this way, you can maybe even remember the Lord, or the Lord may come to you and give you a full experience of Him, a full darshan. It's possible, especially in Vrindavan. So anyhow, this is the subject matter. But if you really want to make advancement, even in this life, you have to be prepared. That at some point, you should know that I have to wind up this thing. I'm not building up my career. I'm not building up my family life to keep expanding it and expanding it and expanding it. You're building it up to maintain and maybe pass devotional life onto the next generation, but then it should be wound up and it should be transferred to the next generation. And this is the essence of life. To leave this all behind, all these things that we're getting entangled in now, all the career things, all of these things, and to focus on bhajan. This is the point of life. Everything else is ultimately a distraction. So why are we doing these things right now? Why am I maintaining my family? Why am I, earning some income? Why am I doing all these things? It's basically to maintain my life. That's the main thing. I'm maintaining my life, and that's pretty much all we have enough to do right now. We can maintain our life, we can maintain our family's life, and we can help some community members. That's my whole experience right now. But that's your experience. Why are you doing what you're doing? It should be just to maintain your life so you can go deeper spiritually. And then when you get strong and everything is achieved, and you have enough, and the retirement plan is there, and your life is maintained for the rest of your life, maybe due to the income you earned, you can leave it behind and focus only on this. So this is the system. This is Varnashram Dharma. This is the highest thing. Highest, system from getting out of this quagmire here. So any questions? That's it? You're ready to give it up, Parth? Yes? Oh, very good. So 20 years, you have to build up. You maybe build up for 10 and then wind down for 10. And then you're ready at 50. Yes, you guys do too. If we're fortunate, we could do it at 50. But maybe it takes 55 or 60. But no later than 60. 60 we should really be winding down. I'll be checking in on all of you. Hey, Divyanshu, who knows, by then it'll be like, you'll be able to see a hologram of me, and I'll be in your kitchen with you talking to you. And you'll be in the kitchen talking with me. We'll stand on some portal pad and transfer our, bodies. And we'll have a nice conversation. Hey, have you wound? Oh, I see. Look at all the family is here. What are you doing with all your family life still? What is going on here? You're 60-something years old. What's going on? Where's your place in Vrindavan? What, like this. Why are you in California? So like this. We can all check in on each other later. But but we should understand this is where it's going. We're not doing this for There's nothing to build here. We're building. What are we building? You have to just maintain your life to do bhajan. And if you want to build anything, build something so that, like this house is the only thing I really own, of great value. And so this house is not mine. Actually, me and my wife, we're realizing we're too tight here, that we better move out of this house because it's not our house. This is Krishna's house. So we should give this to Krishna and let this be a place where people can come and worship Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness. We can go get a new house for ourselves. Why take the house that's everyone? This is Krishna's house. So I like this. But yeah, we should understand what's happening here and not think there's something to build here. I want to expand my family, I want to expand my business, No, I want to maintain my body and soul so I can perform Krishna's bhajan. And if Krishna so desires, if my ability to earn income in this world, if I can use this in Krishna's service, then so be it. If Krishna finds it beneficial for me to earn and build something in his service, I can do it. But ultimately, what do the Shastras say? We should just maintain our body and soul so we can do bhajan. That's really all that needs to be done, actually. And, also maintain your dependence, wife, children, and so on. If you're a man, and for wife, you make sure your children have enough. And make sure you poke your husband until he make sure the children have enough. Which is why we also have to expand. Because I was thinking, it's simple, we could just live in the basement and things like that. But we're seeing practically it's not good for Abhiram and my wife to be so confined. They need more. They need more. So now I have to come up with new strategy in life. But that's it's natural, and that's my duty, actually. So anyhow, let's do Chita. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Sorry we went so long, but the questions are, good.